The Thompson family had always dreamed of a quiet life away from the city's chaos. When they found the old Victorian house on Maple Lane, priced suspiciously low, they thought it was fate. The house stood at the edge of town, surrounded by overgrown hedges and whispering pines. Emma, the mother, loved the creaky wooden floors and stained glass windows. David, the father, saw potential in its spacious rooms. Their 10-year-old daughter, Lily, was less enthusiastic. She claimed the shadows in the hallway watched her. Still, they moved in with hope and boxes full of memories. That first night, as rain tapped against the roof, Emma heard it. A faint murmur from the living room wall. She dismissed it as whined through old pipes. But David heard it too, and so did Lily. None of them mentioned it at breakfast the next morning, each afraid the others would think they were losing their minds. The house felt alive, breathing in the silence between heartbeats. The whispers returned the next night, softer than before, yet clearer. This time, they came from the kitchen wall while Emma washed dishes. "Don't turn around," it said, in a voice that sounded like dry leaves scraping concrete. Her hands froze mid-suds. She called out for David, but he was already asleep upstairs. Lily sat silently at the table, eyes wide, staring at the wall as if waiting for something to emerge. Emma forced a smile and tucked her daughter into bed, pretending nothing happened. But that night, she barely slept. By the third night, the whispers weren't just sounds, they formed words. "Open the basement," one voice urged. "Check the attic," another insisted. The voices seemed to come from different parts of the house, sometimes overlapping, sometimes arguing among themselves. David tried to rationalize it, old wiring, rodents, even infrasound from nearby trains. But deep down, he knew this was no ordinary haunting. The house wasn't just haunted, it was hungry. Lily began sleepwalking. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., she'd stand in the hallway, barefoot, whispering back to the walls. Emma and David installed a baby monitor in her room, but the audio only captured static and faint giggling. One morning, they found strange symbols carved into her bedroom door, crude, jagged lines that looked ancient. Neither parent recognized them, but they felt an inexplicable dread when looking at them too long. The whispers grew bolder. "You belong here," they'd say. "You've always belonged here." Emma started researching the house's history. She discovered it was built in 1893 by a reclusive architect who vanished after his wife and daughter died under mysterious circumstances. Locals believed he'd sealed their spirits into the walls to keep them close forever. The more Emma read, the more she realized the house didn't want new residents. It wanted replacements. And Lily, with her pale skin and quiet demeanor, resembled the architect's lost daughter eerily. David, desperate to protect his family, hired a paranormal investigator. The man arrived with EMF meters, thermal cameras, and a grim expression. After one night inside, he refused to return. "That house isn't haunted by ghosts," he told David over the phone, voice trembling. "It's haunted by something that feeds on fear. It learns, it adapts, and it's chosen your daughter." Emma begged him to stay, but he hung up. That same night, the lights flickered violently, and every mirror in the house cracked simultaneously. Lily stood in the center of the living room, eyes black as coal, repeating, "She's coming home." Emma tried to grab her, but the walls seemed to pulse, pushing her back. David smashed a hole in the living room wall with a fire axe, hoping to find wires or hidden speakers. Instead, he found layers of old wallpaper, and beneath them, dozens of tiny handprints in dried blood. The house wasn't just speaking, it was remembering. Emma found an old journal hidden behind a loose floorboard in the attic. It belonged to the architect's daughter, Eleanor. The entries described how her father, consumed by grief, began hearing voices in the walls after her mother's death. He believed the house could be made eternal if fed with souls. Eleanor wrote that he tried to bind her to the house so they'd never be apart. The last entry was a single sentence. "He's mixing my blood with the plaster." Emma's blood ran cold. She rushed downstairs to find Lily gone. The front door stood open, though it had been locked. Outside, The garden path led to the basement entrance, ajar with a faint red glow seeping from within. David followed Emma without a word. As they descended the creaking stairs, the whispers became a chorus, chanting Lily's name. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and iron. At the bottom, they found Lily standing before a freshly bricked-up wall, her small fingers tracing the outline of a child-sized silhouette embedded in the mortar. "Lily, come back!" Emma screamed, lunging forward. But the moment her foot touched the basement floor, the bricks began to shift. Dust filled the air as the wall cracked open, revealing a hollow space behind it. Inside lay bones, small, fragile, wrapped in yellowed fabric. Eleanor's remains. The whispers surged into a deafening roar. "Join us," they commanded. "Complete the circle." Lily turned slowly, her eyes no longer black, but glowing faintly, like embers. "I'm not Lily anymore," she said in a voice that wasn't hers. David grabbed a rusted pipe from the corner and swung it at the wall, shouting for his daughter to fight it. The house responded with a shudder, and the ceiling groaned. Plaster rained down as the walls closed in, trying to trap them. Emma clutched Lily's journal to her chest and whispered a plea. Not to the house, but to Eleanor's spirit. "Let her go. Take me instead." For a heartbeat, everything went silent. Then, a single tear rolled down Lily's cheek. The walls stopped moving. The whispers faded into a sorrowful sigh. Lily collapsed into Emma's arms, unconscious but breathing. The red glow vanished, leaving only the dim beam of David's flashlight. They carried her upstairs, never looking back. The next morning, they packed what they could and left the house forever. Neighbors later reported the house stood empty again, though some claimed to hear a child's laughter on quiet nights, and others swore the front window reflected two girls instead of one. Emma kept the journal, reading it every year on the anniversary of that night. She never understood why Eleanor spared Lily, but she believed it was because someone finally listened. Years later, Lily would wake up screaming, claiming the walls in their new apartment were whispering again. But this time, Emma knew what to do. She held her daughter tight and whispered back, "We hear you, and we're not staying." 16-year-old Maya loved exploring forgotten places. Armed with her phone and a thirst for adventure, she often wandered into abandoned buildings and overgrown trails just outside her suburban town. Her Instagram was filled with moody shots of rusted swing sets, crumbling barns, and fog-draped forests, each captioned with poetic lines about solitude and decay. One Saturday afternoon, she ventured deeper than usual into Blackthorn Woods, a dense forest locals avoided due to old rumors of disappearances in the 1980s. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the crunch of dead leaves under her boots. Feeling a strange mix of dread and excitement, Maya raised her phone for a selfie, her pale face framed by twisted branches and gray sky. She snapped the photo, smiled at the eerie aesthetic, and walked back home without a second thought. That night, while scrolling through her gallery, she froze. Behind her shoulder, barely visible between two gnarled trunks, stood a tall, shadowy figure. She blinked, zoomed in, and her breath caught. No one had been there when she took the picture. She was certain. Maya deleted the photo immediately, but the next morning, it reappeared in her gallery, untouched. Confused, she tried deleting it again, this time clearing her cache and restarting her phone. Still, the image returned within minutes. Worse, the figure had moved. It now stood closer, its silhouette sharper, shoulders hunched as if leaning forward. Maya's hands trembled as she showed the photo to her best friend, Chloe. "It's probably just a glitch or a trick of the light," Chloe said, though her voice wavered. "Maybe you didn't notice someone walking by?" But Maya knew the woods had been empty. No birds, no wind, just silence. That night, she dreamt of standing in the same spot, unable to move, while the figure reached out from behind her, fingers brushing her neck. She woke up gasping, her phone glowing on the nightstand. The photo was open on its own, and the figure was even closer, now just a few feet behind her, head tilted unnaturally to the side. Maya screamed and threw the phone across the room. But by morning, it was back in her hand, screen cracked but still showing the same cursed image. Desperate, Maya visited the local library to research Blackthorn Woods. An elderly librarian handed her a yellowed newspaper clipping from 1985. A teenage girl named Elise had vanished there during a school hike. Witnesses claimed she'd stopped to take a photo before disappearing. Her body was never found. Shaken, Maya compared Elise's yearbook photo to her own selfie. The resemblance was uncanny. Same sharp cheekbones, same dark eyes. That evening, Maya tried to confront the image. She opened the photo and spoke aloud. "Who are you?" The screen flickered. For a split second, the figure's face became clear. A gaunt, hollow-eyed girl with matted hair and a torn dress. Then the image reset. But now, the figure stood directly behind Maya's digital self, hands resting on her shoulders. Maya felt a cold pressure on her real shoulders and spun around. Nothing there. Yet the chill remained. She realized with horror that the entity wasn't just in the photo. It was using the photo to enter her world. Every time she looked, it crossed another boundary. And soon, there would be no distance left. Maya stopped looking at the photo, but it began appearing on every screen she used. Her laptop, her tablet, even the smart TV in the living room would flicker to life, displaying the cursed image without warning. Her parents thought she was stressed and suggested therapy. But Maya knew better. She noticed changes in her reflection. Sometimes her eyes seemed darker. Other times, strands of wet, muddy hair clung to her neck, though she hadn't showered. One night, she woke to the sound of dripping water. In the bathroom mirror, she saw Elise standing behind her, mouth sewn shut with black thread, eyes streaming tears of mud. Maya slammed the door and barricaded herself in her room. She wrapped her phone in aluminum foil and buried it in the backyard. For 2 days, peace returned. But on the third night, her phone rang from beneath the floorboards. She hadn't told anyone where she'd hidden it. Trembling, she dug it up. The screen was cracked, waterlogged, but the photo was still there, and Elise's face now filled half the frame. Her stitched lips curled into a smile. Maya decided to return to Blackthorn Woods. If the spirit was tied to the place, maybe she could break the curse there. She brought salt, a flashlight, and her grandmother's old rosary. The forest felt different this time, hostile, watchful. Twigs snapped without wind. Shadows darted between trees. She reached the exact spot where she'd taken the selfie. The air smelled of damp earth and rotting leaves. Kneeling, she placed the rosary on the ground and whispered an apology to Elise. "I didn't mean to disturb you," she said, voice cracking. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. The photo had updated itself. Elise was no longer behind her. She was in front, eyes wide, arms outstretched as if to embrace Maya. The screen flickered again, and the image changed. Now it showed Maya standing alone in the woods, but her reflection in a puddle revealed Elise wearing Maya's face. Panic surged. Maya turned to run, but the path behind her had vanished, swallowed by thorny vines. The whispers began, soft at first, then louder. "Stay. Take my place." Maya stumbled backward, tripping over roots. Her phone slipped from her hand and landed face up in the mud. The screen glowed brighter, illuminating Elise's desperate eyes. "Please," the image seemed to plead. "I've been trapped for so long." Maya realized Elise wasn't evil. She was lonely, bound to the forest by her violent death. The selfie hadn't summoned a monster. It had opened a door for a lost soul seeking escape. But the only way out was to swap places. Tears streamed down Maya's face as she understood the choice. Freedom for Elise meant imprisonment for her. She picked up the phone, her fingers trembling. "What if I help you without taking your place?" she whispered. The screen flickered. A new image appeared. Maya holding Elise's hand, both walking toward a faint light beyond the trees. Hope sparked, but then the screen cracked violently, and the original photo returned. Elise's expression had hardened. The whispers turned sharp. "No more chances. Choose now." The trees around them groaned, closing in like prison bars. With a final sob, Maya made her choice. She smashed the phone against a rock, shattering the screen into 1,000 pieces. For a moment, silence fell. Then, a cold wind swept through the trees, carrying the scent of rain and roses. The oppressive weight lifted. Maya ran, faster than she ever had, until she burst out of the woods and collapsed on the roadside, gasping. Weeks passed. Life returned to normal. She avoided forests, deleted her social media, and kept her camera shutter closed. But sometimes, late at night, she'd catch her reflection blinking a second too late, or smiling when she wasn't. One rainy evening, she found a new photo in her cloud backup, uploaded automatically weeks ago. It showed her standing in Blackthorn Woods, back turned, while a girl with familiar eyes stepped out from behind a tree, reaching toward the camera. The caption read, "Thank you. Maya never took another selfie." But somewhere in another girl's phone, the photo is still updating, and the figure is getting closer. 8-year-old Leo had always been drawn to his grandmother's old house. With its creaking floorboards, dusty bookshelves, and towering gables, it felt like a castle from a forgotten fairy tale. He spent every summer there, exploring every nook and cranny. This year, while rummaging through the attic for an old board game, he noticed something strange. A section of the far wall looked newer than the rest. The wood was smoother, the paint slightly brighter. Curious, he pushed against it, and a hidden door swung open with a soft groan. Inside was a narrow, dark passage that smelled of damp wood and mothballs. Leo called out, but only silence answered. That night, as he lay in bed, he heard it. Soft footsteps from the attic, followed by a child's voice, faint but clear, whispering, "Play with me." He sat up, heart pounding. His grandmother, sleeping downstairs, had insisted the house was empty except for them. Yet the voice sounded so real, so lonely. Leo told his grandmother about the voice the next morning over breakfast. She paused, her teacup halfway to her lips, then smiled gently. "Oh, that old house," she said. "It makes all sorts of noises. Wind in the eaves, mice in the walls. Your imagination fills in the rest." But Leo knew it wasn't his imagination. The voice had a name. "I'm Sam," it had whispered. "Will you play?" That afternoon, Leo returned to the attic. He brought a flashlight and stood before the secret door. He didn't open it, but pressed his ear against the wood. First, nothing. Then a soft tapping, like tiny knuckles rapping on the other side. "Leo?" The voice called. "Are you there?" Leo's breath hitched. He backed away slowly, fear and curiosity warring inside him. When he told his mother on the phone later, she laughed. "You've been watching too many ghost stories, sweetie," she said. But that night, the footsteps returned, closer this time, as if coming down the attic stairs. The family began to worry. Leo's sleep grew restless. Dark circles formed under his eyes. He stopped playing outside and spent hours staring at the attic door. His grandmother, though kind, grew firm. "That door leads to nothing but old insulation and broken furniture," she insisted. "It's not safe. Stay away." But Leo couldn't. One rainy night, unable to sleep, he crept upstairs. The secret door was slightly ajar. A cold draft seeped through, carrying the scent of wet earth. Heart racing, Leo pushed it open. The passage led to a small, forgotten room bare except for a rusted toy train and a single dusty teddy bear. On the wall, carved into the wood, were the words, "Sam was here." Below it, in smaller letters, "He never left." Leo's blood ran cold. As he turned to leave, a small hand slipped into his. He looked down. A boy, pale and translucent, with eyes full of sadness, stood beside him. "Now you can stay too," Sam whispered. Leo screamed and ran, slamming the door shut behind him. Leo refused to go near the attic again. He slept with the lights on and kept his bedroom door locked. But Sam found other ways in. Whispers came through the heating vents. Toys moved on their own. One morning, Leo found his favorite action figure sitting on the windowsill, facing the attic window, as if waiting. His grandmother finally confessed. Decades ago, her younger brother, Samuel, had vanished in that very house at age 7. They searched for weeks, but he was never found. Some believed he'd run away. Others whispered darker things. "We sealed that room after we gave up," she said, tears in her eyes. "We thought it best to forget." Leo understood now why Sam wanted to play. He'd been alone for 60 years. But the more Leo thought about it, the more he wondered. Was Sam asking for a friend or a replacement? The whispers grew clearer. "Stay with me, Leo. Forever." Leo decided he had to face Sam. Armed with his grandmother's old pocket watch, a gift from her brother, he climbed the attic stairs one last time. The secret door swung open before he could touch it. Inside, the air was icy. Sam stood in the center of the hidden room, no longer translucent but solid, his clothes tattered, his eyes pleading. "You came back," he said, voice trembling with hope. Leo held out the watch. "This was yours, wasn't it?"
Sam nodded, tears welling.
For a moment, the room felt warm, almost peaceful. But then the walls began to bleed dark stains, and the temperature dropped sharply. Sam's expression twisted with desperation. "If you leave, I'll be alone again," he cried. The door slammed shut behind Leo. The only way out was through Sam. Leo's hands shook, but he remembered his grandmother's words. Some doors should never be opened, but some souls just need to be set free. Leo stepped forward, holding the watch out like an offering. "I'm not staying, Sam," he said softly, "but I won't leave you alone either." He placed the watch in Sam's cold hand. The moment their skin touched, a blinding light filled the room. Memories flooded Leo's mind. Sam playing alone, hiding in the attic during a storm, the floor giving way beneath him, the long fall into darkness, and then silence. 60 years of silence. Sam's form began to glow, his edges softening. He looked at Leo, not with desperation, but with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. The hidden room dissolved around them, revealing the bare attic beams and dusty rafters. The secret door was gone, as if it had never existed. Leo walked downstairs, exhausted but calm. His grandmother met him at the bottom, her eyes wide with understanding. She didn't ask what happened. She simply hugged him tightly and said, "He's at peace now." Life returned to normal, but Leo was changed. He no longer feared the dark or closed doors. Every summer, he visited his grandmother, and they'd sit in the attic together, sorting through old boxes, not searching for secrets, but sharing stories. Years later, when Leo's own son asked about the strange mark on the attic wall, Leo simply smiled. "That's where a friend used to live," he said. "A long time ago." He never mentioned the whispers, the cold hand, or the pocket watch, now kept in a velvet box on his dresser. But sometimes, on quiet nights, he'd hear the faint chug of a toy train from upstairs. He'd pause, smile softly, and whisper back, "Good night, Sam." And in the attic, where dust motes danced in moonlight, the air would grow just a little warmer, as if someone somewhere was finally home.